Soon and very soon, we are going to see the Hosh. Soon and very soon, we are going to see the Hosh. No more excuses then, we are going to Bopa Hosh. Bopa, Bopa, Bopi Hosh Kari. Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. Today we're going to recap the events at the Madlanga Commission. We're on day 22 of the Madlanga Commission. I'm going to give you some thoughts on the testimony of the three witnesses who spoke today. And I want to tell you that it looks to me like something is cooking in that commission. The issue of the Hawks and that visit on that specific day of the 6th of December is going to engulf someone whole. That issue appears to be more serious than initially it appeared to be. And it seems as if it's key to certain parts of what the commission will try to establish. So watching the commission this whole time, I've been trying to determine and scrutinize the strategy, the tactics of the evidence leader to see where ultimately they're going with this. What is their golden thread? And I think the commission evidence leaders have a strategy, and it reminds me of the chess opening known as the Vienna Gambit. For a while, I thought they were going for Brigadier Mokoena, who was definitely contradictory, definitely a witness who lacked certain elements of credibility and at times was dishonest. Today, I think it became clear to me that they're actually looking for either General Godfrey Lebeya, who's the retired leader of the Hawks, or General Patrick Mboto, or both. It's what is known in chess as a discovered attack. Now, the Vienna Gambit is an old chess opening popular in the 1800s. There's a gentleman who was known as Karl Hamp, who was a Swiss government official, and he spent a lot of time in cafes. Back then, people weren't spending time in the nightclubs chasing Hosh Kari mamas. They were playing chess. So if you were like a lazy one, you would be playing chess in chess cafes in Vienna. Imagine that. I think we would all much rather have our government officials obsessed with chess at lunch rather than them being obsessed with brunch and, with the inner workings of the Hosh Kari mama, the yellow bones with the yellow thighs. We'd all prefer that. So to play the Vienna Gambit, you must have the white pieces and you must begin with the king's pawn opening. Black must respond with their king's pawn. So it's basically e4, e5. Those are the first moves. The second move would then be, depending on a variety of things, second move, white would develop the queen's knight. So that would be knight c3. And that's the start of the Vienna game opening. So what you need to know is about discovered attacks, right? Discovered attacks happen when one piece moves out of the way to reveal an attack by another piece. That's why it's discovered, right? And they're often powerful because the piece that moves can simultaneously create new threats, which is why I'm saying it looks like the commission is doing a version of this in their evidence leading. So when the discovered attack delivers a check, threatening a checkmate, right? For those who maybe don't play chess, that one is called a discovered check. And it's even more forcing because if you're threatening checkmate, you either move the king or you have to block if you cannot eliminate the piece which is attacking the king. So if you look at the image that I'm showing you, you will see one of the variations of the Vienna Gambit. And there the king is in check. And at the same time, the queen is under attack. And in this instance, whatever you do, the queen is going. She's gone. The lady is gone. The queen is going. So I'm seeing a Vienna Gambit in what the commission is doing. I'm going to try to break it down for you as we go into this. So the commission heard from three witnesses today, right? The first witness this morning was the commander of the Gauteng Traffic Police Air Wing, Chief George Raftopoulos, if I'm saying it correctly. I'm going to call him Chief George moving forward. So Chief George says he was called by Captain Kruger from the Hawks about an alleged bogus operation which was happening at the house, which we now know to be Katiso KT Molefe's house. And the KT, what is it for? Killing time. What is the KT for? Katiso, killing time Molefe. I don't know if that's the best nickname for him, but we need to find we need to find one, right? So Chief George says at the time he didn't have ground members who could quickly go to the home to verify. And he said this is not the first time he was called to assist with arresting criminals who were impersonating police officers. And so he said that he has a good relationship with the Hawks Tactical Operations Management Section, the TOMS. And as a result of that, he then sent the helicopter. The operation did not take a long time. Took about 7 minutes to get there. They surveilled the area for a few minutes, flew back to the base. In his testimony, there was a crucial contradiction because Captain Kruger told Chief George about the operation being a legal police operation. That's according to Chief George. But during his testimony, Captain Kruger said he doesn't remember how George got the information that the police operation was legal. And these questions are important, and it's an important detail because it appears that there were some people who actually were aware throughout the whole process that this was actually a legal takedown operation, and that when the Hawks were deployed, this was not actually a genuine verification exercise, but a favor to Katiso Molefe, an intimidation and interference and information gathering exercise, because one of the concerns raised by, I think, Witness C and also Witness B is that these people were now checking and trying to determine who the investigating officers were, who those people were. And we've now found out that, from some of the behavior of these implicated police officers, that would come with some very dangerous consequences for the investigating officers. So it's not clear who is not being honest or who knew that this operation was a legal operation and when they knew. That, I think, we're still going to try to get to the bottom of in terms of who was the first person to ascertain that the operation was legal, or was that known throughout the day? Because if they were already privy to the information that the takedown operation was going to happen, that opens another can of worms in terms of trying to ascertain who was the first person to actually get that information. How did that information get distributed? So Chief George said he took a video, he sent it to the Hawks Toms, and, he then left because he didn't see anything suspicious. He actually thought that when the helicopter arrives, if those guys see a helicopter, they're going to make a run for it. That's what typically would happen if there were suspicious people at that particular house. And what a house, eh? Tennis court, swimming pool. Katiso Molefe. Hosh Kari behavior at another level, my guy. You've been living the life. You've been having a time. So he says he left, right? It's an important detail, right, around the helicopter, what they saw, etc., because there's still a lingering question about the number of vehicles that were sent to the house, the duration of the Hawks' stay at the house, the volatility of the situation, the failure of the Hawks to record an incident report. And this is something that Commissioner Baloyi was still trying to establish and was not satisfied with last time. So what we get of value from Chief George is that he got there, established that the operation was legit, bounced, and communicated all of the information that he have. But Kruger and them stayed. Because one of the things that Chief George says that he told Kruger that he didn't see anything suspicious, but Kruger said he was still making his way to Molefe's house and he would stay. One of the questions then is, why did you stay? And this is what I was talking about just a bit earlier. Now, there was a big moment today that happens, a procedural moment, because the commission chairperson, Madlanga, said he wants Brigadier Mokoena back. Said, bring him back today if possible. You see, the commission being in Pretoria and the headquarters being in Pretoria makes it hard now for people to... you can't run now. Anyway, I said we need that man back because some things are not adding up. And Advocate Lee Siegel Ngube actually had anticipated that, and she spoke to Mokoena, and he said, Andizi, I ain't coming there. He said, I still need to consult with my legal team, and am I an implicated person? And then something strange for me anyway, the Hawks legal advisor said Mokoena can't come. Brigadier Mokoena can't come. And this is what Lee Siegel was communicating. Now, you must remember that this is not 30 seconds that is being played by a group of friends on a Saturday. This is a judicial commission of inquiry. So if they want you to come, you're going to come. They can make you come. And you ain't even Jacob Zuma. You can't even... Point I'm saying around why I say it's a bit weird is because the Hawks legal advisor works to preserve the legal interests and duties and obligations of the Hawks, not employees of the Hawks. And his priority or their priority is to make sure that the interests of the Hawks are protected. So it's weird that he would then advise, Brigadier Mokoena not to go and be coaching him or trying to help him on the side, because his job is to actually get compliance, mitigate and reduce the legal risks from the Hawks so that there's no, litigation against the Hawks, nobody sues, all of that kind of thing, because it may very well be that they are victims of all of this Hosh Kari behavior who may at a later stage use information that has been gathered and may be gathered later to actually make a case. Not necessarily that they will say, based on what was said at the commission, but to use what is factually ascertainable to build a case maybe for a prosecution, not a prosecution, litigation that they want to push. So if you head of legal at Hawks, you would actually, in my opinion, tell Mokoena to go, not necessarily tell him he can't go. But anyway, that sounded to me that that's work that his personal lawyers should be doing, not necessarily the lawyers for the Hawks or the counsel for the Hawks or whoever he was speaking to. Anyway, just a thought. I don't know if you picked up the same thing. Now, we're going to talk about the next witness. But before we talk about the next witness, the commissioner has asked me to ask you, are you subscribed? Are you subscribed? We don't want no Hosh Kari behavior here. If you're not subscribed, that's Hosh Kari behavior. We're aiming for 130,000 subscribers. This is a great channel. We do a service to the community. We look at big topics. We're varying the basket of topics. So, hit that subscribe. We even get threatened for you. We get threatened for you. So hit subscribe, turn on notifications, check, verify that you are subscribed. Because sometimes, still happens up to now, people think they're subscribed because they've been watching all the videos, commenting, part of the community, just didn't click the button. Just check it. Helps YouTube know that you love the content, helps other people find the content. And fundamentally, it's Hosh Kari behavior at this point to not be subscribed. The only person who's not subscribed at this point is Vusi Matala, Wetsa Manyala, and others. And others. Maybe we can even find Tebuko Tobejane a boyfriend. She's complaining out there that she can't get a boyfriend. Maybe one of the subscribers will help her out because she says people are scared of her ex. Right, let's move on. Let me get serious. Some people are like, you must be serious. Don't sing. You must be serious. Let me be serious. Let me have a sense of occasion and the appropriate decorum. Right. So the next witness was Warrant Officer Sabeli, and he's attached to the TOMS unit at the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, which is the Hawks, right? So he was a very interesting witness to watch. And look, I'm trying to be serious, but Warrant Officer Nkosi makes it difficult for me to say the whole thing with a straight face, because that man... That man swears more than Denzel Washington on Training Day, if you've ever watched that movie. And you could understand as you watched that Advocate Ngube tried to tell him when she was preparing him that he had to use church English, prayer English, schoolboy English, and he tried, Shem. But at times, at times his inner Tupac came out. 90% of the time he complied. Every now and again he defaulted to his preferred lexicon and register. And Advocate Lingube was so befuddled. She looked at the commissioners. Commissioners, it's not my work. I'm not the reason why he... You could tell. But the commissioners were chilled about some of the flowery language that he had. He was just a genuine, authentic oak, and I think people appreciated that about him. So Nkosi reports to Brigadier Mokoena. He told the commission that he was called by Captain Kruger to transport him and another officer to Molefe's house. He received a call from Mokoena about bogus cops at that particular house. He was preparing for a serious operation to Northwest, and he was not pleased about this side quest, this impromptu mission that he was now being sent on. The gist of his testimony is that it was not a useful operation. It was a wasteful operation and one that got in the way of serious police business. He had been briefed that he needed to go to Northwest, and that's what he was preparing for. Now, there's a little bit of an issue around this Northwest issue and whether or not it had happened, it hadn't happened. But he said that he found Brigadier Mokwena's instructions strange. And, it was a waste of resources. There's a police station within the area, people who could have gone to check. And you need to know, Warrant Officer Nkosi does not like to play around. He doesn't like men who lack testicular courage. Not my words, his words, but more flowery. He doesn't like to waste time. He doesn't even like it when you make him wait at the gate. Sends you a live location. Says, I'm on the way. Don't waste my time. He's that type of a guy. So he says he found the instructions strange. A reasonable person would have thought, listen, let's go to Northwest. That's important. He criticized Captain Kruger for spending time at the house to verify further that they were bogus cops. He says, look, I got there, 1212, saw that it was okay. I was ready to go. And then he gave a very interesting piece of testimony, which becomes more interesting in the third witness's testimony, not immediately in his, but has been this lingering thing. Who called Libya? Who called the Hawks? Who got all of this happening? It's a lingering question. So Nkosi says, he was approached by a person at the Molefe mansion who walked towards him, past the swimming pools, tennis courts, all that beautiful stuff at that mansion. They exchanged greetings. The individual asked him, are you from the Hawks? Nkosi told him, yeah, I'm from the Hawks. What's up? And the individual said, I'm the one who called Patrick. He didn't know who Patrick was. He's like, who's Patrick? And the individual responded, General Mboto. Hey, Mthethwa is calling people. The individual is Mr. Mthethwa. And you need to know that Lieutenant General Mboto is the one who instructed Brigadier Mokoena to actually get the operation going, to send people to the Molefe house. And this is the version that we've been given so far. So Nkosi is not that kind of a cop. He's like, nah, I ain't going to talk to you further. Right? He refused to speak to Mthethwa. But Mthethwa was like, he wanted to know if the police had an arrest warrant. Mthethwa says he didn't stay at the house. This is what he was telling Warrant Officer Nkosi. And really, one of the salient points or the big revelations was that Mthethwa said Mboto was an old brayaka. It's my bra, my homie. The man them that we know. And they come from way back. Now you got a general who's being called a bra of Molefe via this Mthethwa character. This is something that becomes big later. And it was an important exchange for some reasons that I think I need to explicitly spell out. General Patrick Mboto was working in the Northwest for a considerable amount of time before he got the Hawks position. Same province that Brown Envelope Mkhotsi is from, where he was politically active in a big way. Brown Mkhotsi Foundation, all of this, where his operations were based. Now, you'll recall, Brown Envelope Mkhotsi has been shown to have access to police information at the highest levels of police. There's another businessman from Northwest who, I can't remember his name now, Kasim, who was implicated in having conversations with Vutsi Matlala, talking about the possible appointment of General Shadrack Sibiya to a more senior position. All of these things then make the instruction, if indeed it came from Mthethwa to General Patrick Mboto, interesting, because now we have these other Northwest connections, which I think then make it, a challenging position for General Mboto, who comes next. And remember, the allegation is that Katiso Molefe is such an important Hosh Kari Don father. He may even be, halfway to Hosh Kari Don ancestor at this point. He's senior in Hoshirism, basically. He's senior to the effect that he can get bail. Under confounding legal reasoning, he can get access to the Hawks. Generals come to his house to protect him. Generals send Hawks to his house to protect him. He's someone who has worked with police officers in the perpetration of criminal activities, not least of which is murder. This is according to the allegations which come from witness A, B, and C. For instance, the allegations around former detective Michael Puletau, right, who was working for the police on duty, according to him, going around doing the bidding of Molefe. Molefe is the one who's implicated in this Transnet tender, the heist that they were doing it. So he's not a small-time guy, right? His relatives are persons of interest. They're fugitives right now. They're persons of interest in fraud at Transnet, in murder, and a variety of things. They're able to abscond from justice. They're at large because they got tipped off. He's the person who gets visited in the still of the night by Brigadier Mokoena, who then delivers tracksuits to him in prison. Tries to even deliver, food for him because the boss cannot just eat prison food. Think about all of these implications. So, getting to the bottom of how the Hawks get here may actually be a net that catches one of these big fish, especially the general. Because remember, the witness B, she testified that she was told, "You've touched a person of the general's." And the whole time I was thinking, is Brigadier Mokoena, the one here who's implicated in this side, and maybe General Sibia being the one implicated on the other side. And now it seems that it may go further generals up. Something that we have to keep in mind. Now, the next witness was Lieutenant General Patrick Morton, and he's the Hawks Divisional Commissioner. He started in October last year. Previously, he was the divisional head in Northwest for 6 years. And he reported at the time to Lieutenant General Godfrey Libya. So Mboto's version to the commission was that he was called by the former Hawks head, General Godfrey Libya, about the bogus cops at the home of Katiso Molefe. He didn't know and maintains he doesn't know Katiso Molefe. So General Mboto said that he asked Brigadier Mokoena to find a vehicle in the area of Sandton. It's significant because what ended up happening is that there were multiple vehicles that were deployed, and in addition, a helicopter was deployed, and equally it was ascertained relatively early on that, the operation was legitimate. So he says the purpose of the vehicle was to scan the area. He says that it had to be an unmarked vehicle with plainclothes officers because later on he said if anybody else had gone there, it would have basically put them at risk and also alerted the criminals if there was any criminal activity as to what was going on. He actually said also there wasn't anything wrong necessarily with calling for backup if anybody did, but his version was that he sent, this request for find a vehicle, send 2 people, and get to the bottom of what's going on there. So he says he gave feedback to General Libya and told him that, listen, there's no operation that is taking place in Sandton by the Hawks. Mboto says that he just wanted to establish as to whether the police were bogus or not, and that was the length and breadth of what he was trying to get to. He says, listen, to verify, all you need to do is get the certificate. He says, this was an issue which was coming up a bit, and that's why they got involved in it, because there were 33 cases that they'd already gotten either convictions or were advanced investigation on in terms of this false police officer thing. So Mboto said that Brigadier Mokoena misunderstood some of the instructions of the assignment because he had to just basically do a basic mission and not the overkill that ended up happening. He said that he knows Lieutenant General Dumsani Khumalo. He was asked why he didn't verify and call Khumalo directly. He didn't give like a clear answer to that. Now, he said he didn't understand why everyone was still at the scene after the verification was done. So, General Mboto is a well-spoken, fast thinker, intelligent man. And I have conflicting feelings about his testimony. I couldn't ascertain whether I felt that he was being truthful or being smart. I was like, yeah. Is he honest? Is he well prepared? Because you could tell he watched the other interviews as well, the other testimonies, etc. So, look, I'll leave that to the commissioners. He says he later gave feedback to Libya and explained that, Captain Wonderful had denied saying that he was from the Hawks, because there was this whole thing about, was there this thing of people coming to that house saying they're from the Hawks and they were sent by Libya. Big part of the testimony towards the end, but major, he said he didn't receive a call from Mthethwa. General Mboto said he didn't receive a call from Mthethwa. If Mthethwa had called him, he would not have requested, the address from other people, particularly from General Libya, because there were some exchanges where he was trying to get the location. Where am I going to send these people, etc. So one of the questions that does remain is, where did the address come from? Who gave who the address? He says he doesn't know Mthethwa. He's never spoken to Mthethwa. He didn't have a problem with a civilian calling to ask this kind of a question. He just said, I don't know this dude. I don't know him like that. I don't know him like that. That's basically what he was saying. So the commissioners were worried, because they're like, you sent these people to the house, and Mthethwa claimed that he knew you, right? And Moto said, listen, my cell phone records can be obtained. You can ascertain from my call records whether or not I know this person. He says he's got one phone. He doesn't know this dude, always had one phone. He uses his work phone. And, Commissioner Baloyi also was concerned that a member of the public can just call the Hawks. She was concerned that he himself sent only one vehicle when he thought the operation was dangerous. They pushed him on this, right? And you remember Captain Wanda individually gave testimony that he was given a phone to speak to Mboto, and it wasn't Mokwena's phone. It was this person Mthethwa's phone. Now, Mboto questions, Ms. Mboto responded by saying, look, what's the issue? I don't have an issue with being called by a civilian, etc. But he said he doesn't know this dude. He doesn't know Molefe. Lee Seagulls also explained that, listen, two people who were on the scene didn't speak to each other. Both had corroborating versions that General Mboto was called by Mr. Mthethwa. And this is something the commissioners didn't let go. Like this Mthethwa phone call to General Mboto, they were not letting it go. They pushed back multiple times. I think towards the end, maybe that was 20 minutes or 30 minutes of the questioning. But he held his ground. He said he doesn't know the guy. He doesn't know this dude. And going forward, it's now clear that this Mthethwa character will have to be ascertained, and he'll probably have to give testimony. Who is he? What is his relationship with General Mboto? What is his relationship with Molefe? What is his relationship with General Libya? It's clear now that also General Libya is going to have to give his own version on record, which is why I'm saying there's a discovered attack now. Can you see the Vienna opening now? Because who gave people the address, right? Brigadier Mokoena also is going to be in big trouble in round 2 of his questioning. And he can't avoid the questioning. He can't. Remember, ultimately, Jacob Zuma ended up in jail because he walked out of a commission of inquiry. You can't do that. You cannot do it. They want Brigadier Mokoena back. He said, look, don't call me, I'll call you. But they're like, no, we're calling you. We want you. We want you here to come and explain. So when he comes back, it's going to be hot for him. He's going to have to close some gaps that he didn't want to close the previous time that he gave testimony. I don't know if you guys are following all of this and the implications thereof, but it's hot. It's hot. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wati yashisa le Hosh Kari. Yashisa le Hosh Kari. Hey, let's meet in the comments section. I'm always there. I want to hear what you have to say, what you think. Let's go to the comments.